Hey guys, welcome back to the post show. This week we're talking more Tokyo Avengers and Sonny Boy. We talk more about Haikyuu now that I've wrapped that up. We talk about Demon Slayer now that I'm starting my rewatch. There's going to be a lot of Demon Slayer talk over the next few weeks, just with me and this rewatch, and then the second season coming, which we're both super excited for. We talk about a couple various anime and Hollywood news, mainly the new Hawkeye trailer, and then also the Matrix 4 trailer that just came out. We get into the Christopher Nolan and Universal deal that kind of went down. We talk about James May, Our Man in Japan, a show that I just checked out, which is super fun. And we also, we talk about the unfortunate passing of Norm McDonald this week. So anyways, thank you guys for listening. Try and have a good weekend, and we will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.
Uh-oh. Here comes trouble.
Oh, hey, Grant.
Oh, hey, Dave.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Podcast night.
It's podcast night, my friend.
Yeah.
And which beer do you think I'm drinking today? Wrong. It's a White Claw. Got him.
I should have known that, so I would splurge on it like that.
Because it was dark when I grabbed this can, and I just did the thing where I took a sip, and I didn't know what to expect, and it was definitely not beer.
Yeah, spicy.
Yeah. White Claw. So,
White Claw.
Thank you for sponsoring the podcast, White Claw.
Wouldn't that be something?
What's that?
Wouldn't that be something?
Yeah. Well, I think White Claw exclusively goes after anime podcasts as their main demographic for their customer base. That's probably why they're doing so well these days.
It's so weird. That's exactly what we do.
I know. It's crazy. Yeah. I think it's like there's only so many anime podcasts, so it's. I think it's a really good fit. Really excited for this partnership. Okay, so anime. So I have got I want to say 50% anime, maybe 40% anime this week, and 60% random news.
Yeah, I've got pretty much all anime and then something anime adjacent, so it's gonna be a good one.
Okay, let's talk about Tokyo Avengers real quick.
Sure. Yeah, it's not gonna be long.
Yeah.
Pit stop.
Quick pit stop. Episode 23 just aired. Spoiler alert. And episode 24 is the finale, which is next week.
Mm-hmm.
So this episode is fine. It feels like the episode 23 it's a filler that gives you a cliffhanger, hopefully right before a promising finale. That's the review.
Yeah, seriously. All I can say is not a bad episode. It seems like a repeat of some of the returning jokes this episode. It seemed when I was watching it, my takeaway was, are they trying to show that this cast is still teenagers? They're a bunch of young kids, and they're getting up to hijinks. I was like, maybe that's what they're trying to do. It wasn't really landing, but it's a fine, it's an okay episode. There's nothing blatantly wrong with it. Mm-hmm. But I just hope there is something more significant and plot wise in the finale. I hope. I don't think it's definitely gonna be the case, but
these last couple, the pacing has been all over the place. It's why is this an episode? We're rehashing, I get it, Bloody Halloween is over. Now what? That was a couple episodes ago, and nothing has happened. So,
yeah.
Takemichi finally got a jacket, which is cool.
That was cool, yeah.
So, grats. And then there's, this cool cliffhanger where, there's a meeting for all of Toman, and Mikey's there, and he wants Takemichi specifically to be there, and then he shows up, and he's accompanied by Chifuyu and Hanma, obviously being one of the villains from Valhalla, so that's an interesting pairing. What I will say is, from the quote future, we know that in the past, before Takemichi altered it, that they were supposed to lose on Bloody Halloween, and Mikey ends up becoming the head of Valhalla through some weird internal power struggle / change, and Kisaki is up to shit. So who knows? I wouldn't be super surprised if some kind of big shakeup happens, and Mikey does leave, or Hanma joins, or something weird. You know what I mean?
I think this is something you and I have kind of suspected over like just kind of the trajectory of the past like maybe 7 or 8 episodes that, you know, or definitely within the past couple, is that they need to get away from the Hina stuff. They need to have a curveball for us that's slightly different.
Yeah.
And I think this is just teeing up that, which is, I think, is a little reassuring, because it's clearly going to be a bit of a cliffhanger between from probably the finale into the following season, which I think is fine. Like, there's just so much out in the ether with this show that like there's no way they could wrap everything up. Like, it's too big a story.
Yeah, true.
At this point still. So it's, you know, I'm not bummed. I'm not discouraged. Like, in this next week's episode, it's just a total like a random bloody Halloween train wreck. But I'm excited to see the finale. I'm looking forward to it, and just not, like I said, a couple cool moments. Like the jacket thing was great this episode. You know, just the whole like him going to get the jacket, not like the I'm blanking on the guys arc. The sewing arc, that was really funny. Like that was the good stuff. And even the like the whole thing with where they think Emma is cheating on Draken with Mikey, and just such a weird reveal of like how did he not know that was his sister or stepsister or whatever it is. And we were watching it, and I was like, why is his sister feeding him? I was like, oh yeah, like they're trying to purposely, you know, misdirect us and all that. But it was, I don't know, silly stuff and good stuff.
Weird story beats. Yeah.
Very weird story beats.
Oddly, like slice of life, weird moments in the middle of everything going on. But yeah, that was Tokyo Avengers. Nothing crazy. Hopefully next week will be crazier. We'll see.
Hope so.
Finales are important, so we'll see if they nail theirs. I'll let you go first, sir. What you got, homie?
Well, we have finished Haikyuu as of now. So season 4 we finished up a couple nights ago.
So you're caught up to where the show currently is?
Are caught up. There is clearly going to be a 5th season. It's funny. Haikyuu weirdly has some similarities to My Hero. We've noticed over the past week or so. Like, they're all still in their first, like, we're on, again, there's 4 seasons, they're all still in their first year of, like, you know, like, the main kind of there's a lot of main characters, but, like, Hinata, like, and Kageyama, like, the 2 characters we kind of meet as we come into it, they're in their first year of high school. So everyone's still in that first year, and we kind of been going from, like, tournament to tournament kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And right now they're at nationals, which makes me laugh every time I can. What's the there's a joke somewhere, some comedy show they go, it's a Community. They talk about going to nationals, and we got to go to summer nationals, and we got to go to this nationals and semis, and so anyway, so they're in like this big national tournament across Japan. Like all the prefectures in the whole country are there, and they're like representing their prefecture, and they're right like at the end of season 4 there's still like 16 teams left in the tournament, so like they're clearly setting up like the next couple opponents, and it's just so much fun. The energy, the animation, the humor. Like this season, it was a little strange. They kind of changed up the animation style in the beginning of the 4th season.
Same studio or just
same studio? No, same studio. It's just some faces changed. They kind of, you can tell it's something. Nothing looked bad. But I was like, this is really weird. It's just like, there's a couple characters too. I was like, look what they did to my boy. Like my Azume in the show, one of the characters, he had this beautiful, like big, strong, you know, muscular face and like flowing hair up in a bun. And like, they kind of just like turn him into like a potato. And it was so distracting. But then they get into like the second half of the season. And it's just like, oh, they were putting all their effort into these 12 episodes.
It's so weird once you get an eye for that stuff. Yeah. How apparent it becomes, right?
Yeah.
There were frames in just before we did this podcast, there are frames in, and I feel bad that I didn't mention them, but in the previous podcast we did for My Hero Academia, season 5, episode 23, there are like a couple of genuinely like bad moments on screen in that episode. And then you look at the ending, and the ending is so incredibly strong. You're like, I see. Yeah. Yes. there's like a set amount of frames per episode, or like that. Like, I mean, it doesn't always literally work like that, but once you like get an eye for this kind of thing, it's crazy, you know, because especially like consistency matters, right? Like you said, a certain character just starts getting drawn a different way. You notice right away. You pick up on those things.
Big time. And I think we notice more, this seems maybe, kind of obvious, but when it comes to anime, it is about facial expressions. It is following these characters, and it's, you're very close to the story, very close to the people, and it was just one of those things, like, nothing looked blatantly bad by any means. Like, the show looks very good. Like, it's still, the backgrounds are very similar, but just some, like, little character inflections were different, and we picked up on them, right away. But man, like, tremendous animation. It's like I said, all I can do is hit home how, like, this is not like a battle shown in anime, but like, it's how they can take a sport, like, the game of volleyball, and like, they can shonen it up and show the action and like the blocks and the saves and the spikes, and it's just such Leanne and I, honestly, like, it's really holding a special place in our heart. Like, we had so much fun watching this show, and I'm ready for, like, this show. So the point I was getting at with My Hero is, like, we've been 5 seasons in and they're still, like, in their first year. Haikyuu's doing the exact same thing, but I don't have the problem because it's been focused the whole time. Like, we're with these characters. It's not kind of, we're jumping from this group of characters to that group of characters and da-da-da-da-da-da. And it has a similar way with My Hero. Is they, like, there's all these other schools, like these rival teams, and there's like key players on the teams that you get to know, and they introduce them, they come and go, and it's not as abrasive when they're reintroduced. You're like, oh yeah, like, we haven't seen, like, one of, like, their rival school, Nekama. There's a couple characters from that show that they're really close with, and it's I gotta stop myself because I'll talk about Haikyuu for as long as I can. But it's we are so excited, or we're so excited for a future season. We're so glad we watched it. And anyone listening, if you like comedy, and the comedy is dead on, it is so friggin' good. That's, other than the animation and just like the enjoyable characters, the comedy is so well done.
I like an anime that can pull off comedy. I was just rewatching Full Metal Alchemist, and I was like, I forgot that this show has comedy littered throughout all over the place. Oh yeah. And we've talked about how it's hard in anime to pull off comedy. It sounds like this one has a lot going for it. I still haven't tried the pilot of it, but I will. I'm watching some of your other recommendations right now. Oh yeah. So you gotta cut me some slack.
Oh, but you have years. This is not going anywhere. You can pick this up at any time.
So the last question on Haikyuu, is a 5th season confirmed? And if so, when is it estimated?
It has not been officially confirmed, but like, the show, it's funny because we talk about... It's very popular, I know that. It's very, very popular, and we talk about shows that are in the zeitgeist, and the first things that come to mind are like Tokyo Revengers, My Hero, Attack on Titan, like the big ones. But like, Haikyuu is everywhere. Like, there's a lot of eyes on this show. It's not a matter of if, but when. It's like the way they ended it. Like, there's, like I said, this tournament has so much left to it. It's like they would not just leave it like this. And if there was, there'd probably have to be some pretty gnarly behind the scenes stuff to prevent it from coming out. It's coming for sure. Hopefully sooner than later, but definitely now on the top of our most anticipated shows.
Yeah, true that. Yeah. All right, Haikyuu. We'll be looking for season 5.
Yes.
Okay, I have something cheerful to talk about.
Let's do it.
But before I do, I'm going to bum you out. Are you ready? Yes. Let's get sad before we get hype. So, I don't know if you saw the news today, but Norm McDonald passed away.
I did, yes.
So, I'm not going to stay on this for too long. What I will say is, I think you know this about me, I'm a huge stand-up comedy fan. Mm-hmm. It's one of my favorite things of all time, and I know quite a bit about Norm, and I've seen a lot of his comedy, but I think more importantly, probably for someone my age, is that basically all of my comedians that I watch now, because Norm was 61 and not like putting out specials or anything like that as I was getting into stand-up, but pretty much everybody without exception that I follow now, Norm was their favorite comic. Mm-hmm. He was like, what we call like a comics comic. Sure. Every comedian was really big on Norm Macdonald. So he passed away. I think he was battling cancer for 9 years privately. It's crazy. Nobody had any idea. It's funny. One of the bits, or many of his bits, are currently going viral. right now, just kind of in honor of his memory. I really recommend to everybody listening, if you haven't seen Norm Macdonald comedy, there are a couple bits that you could Google or YouTube rather. You could YouTube his bit on cancer, which is appropriately funny. He's got one of my favorite jokes of all time. It's literally called Norm Macdonald's convoluted bit. Because one thing he would do, and this was like a very 90s and 2000s thing, and he's also huge on SNL. I don't have to mention that, but specifically about stand-up, is that he, as we've talked on this podcast, late night is kind of ridiculous, right? You go on it, you have 7 minutes to talk about a prefabricated and rehearsed story, hit some punchlines, and then you leave. Norm would go on and intentionally waste everybody's time. He had such a good relationship with Letterman and all these different comics. And he did one bit on Conan, and if you YouTube it, you'll find it. It's called the Norm Macdonald moth joke, where it's 4.5 to 5 straight minutes of a bit without a punchline. and then he just does. There's a punchline at the end, but it's hilarious throughout. And you just see Conan and the audience getting more and more impatient. But it's like the most Norm Macdonald thing ever. And if I could encapsulate why people love him, that is a really good example of why. So the Norm Macdonald moth bit. Check that out and just check out the rest of his comedy. Big fan.
And he's, in this little big country of ours, of Canada, like there's only so many things we can really, when it comes to comedy and Hollywood and all this stuff, he, at the end of the day, he was ours, and I feel like he was still very, situated in Canada, and, he had love for the country. And it's always nice to see, there's nothing worse when you see someone from Canada makes it famous and they just disappeared to the ether.
Yeah.
They're like, see you never. But, back to your point of like his bits, there's an expression you tend to see like, about some comedians and actors, and just some people in general, about someone who, marches to the beat of their own drum. Very rarely is anyone actually that, but Norm Macdonald was that. Like, he genuinely set his pace and his tone and followed no one. And it's one of the most admirable things you can take away from a person. Like, he was one in a million.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Whatever you would say about him, he was always doing his own thing.
Yeah.
Give it up for Norm. And, if you're a stand-up comedy fan, I'm telling you, there's a chance that the people that you follow were heavily influenced or inspired by Norm. He, all of my favorite comics that I follow today are posting Norm tributes. He meant to a lot of people, and for good reason. So, R.I.P.
R.I.P.
Okay. Brighter pastures. I want to talk about the Hawkeye trailer.
Baby.
So, spoilers. Spoiler warning for the trailer. They don't actually give much away, but I feel like they give the most important thing away. So, spoilers in 3, 2, 1. It's a Christmas series.
God damn it! I didn't see it coming. Love it. Love to see it.
Love to see it. So your brother always says, "Love to see it." Love to see it.
Yeah, it's. I am also like big pat on the back for Marvel. I don't know. Like, I know you guys are big fans. I know you're just constantly scouring our podcast for little tidbits of insight.
Yep.
But thanks for listening and not giving away the ghost. Like a little bit of mystery. This is probably going to get ruined in a month and a half. They're going to have Hawkeye trailer 2, and it's going to be like, well,
here are all the plot points.
Here's all the plot points.
I mean, we can probably still guess the broad strokes based off this one, but they definitely didn't give away too much. There's lots of mystery there.
That's the thing about Marvel. Like, the broad strokes are always Front Street. It's always like super, super obvious. Yeah. And so like they're not doing anything different there, but it's the little things that they throw, arguably the big things they throw in there just to try and entice people. I think this is the power of Hawkeye. Has been around for a while, and people know who he is. He's been in all the big Marvel movies, whether it's Avengers, Endgame. He's a known quantity, and I think they don't need to lure people in. Mm-hmm. And so awesome, good job, Jeremy Renner, absolute rock star. Love anything he's in. I've always loved Hawkeye, and I think this is going to be an absolute treat at Christmas time. Does it come out at Christmas or does it come out before?
November.
Oh, that's lame. But anyways,
You know, and on the ground.
Well, hopefully. Well, actually, no. I prefer if there's never snow on the ground, but you know, it's. But yeah, I'm super stoked on Hawkeye coming out.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I want to give them credit. I don't want to give them too much credit. They're like the biggest studio on the planet at this point, so
Yeah.
you know they have a lot of bright minds and there's lots of stuff to pull from. But the idea of a Christmas series is pretty inventive and, like you said, definitely not something that we saw coming.
Mm-hmm.
I had a rough feeling that, like, you know, was going to be like a Falcon and the Winter Soldier sort of like clone, but it's Hawkeye instead. You know, you put him in like a political thriller and like maybe you do like some weird like half-baked spy shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, not to be like a pessimist, but that's just sort of what I saw coming.
Sure.
Instead, we get Die Hard.
Yeah.
And we get what will probably be like the spiritual successor to Hawkeye in what is it? Haley Steinfeld.
Yeah. Steinfeld
is in this, and you know it looks like they're very much setting her up to succeed him. So we'll reserve our judgment and see how that goes. But yeah, really, really well done trailer, and I guess they got us for another one.
Yes, sir.
Actually, while we're mentioning just the MCU and Disney Plus, I guess, or these series in general, I will mention the Emmys because there was the, what do you call it, the Technical and Creative Emmy Awards.
Oh, is that what I've been seeing all over the news?
Yeah. So
all
like
these Emmy?
Yeah, so the official one, like with the actual award show, hasn't happened yet.
Okay.
But there's like, they do it in two phases, right? So there's like, you know, all those weird, well, I don't want to call them weird, but the less flagship Emmys, like
the craftsmanship.
yeah, like technical and sound design and like directing for a variety special and shit like that. So I don't ask me to quote certain ones. I don't know them, but I know that WandaVision picked up 3 of these like more technical Emmys, and maybe most importantly, out of the ones that we've seen announced already, Bo Burnham won for best writing and directing of a variety special, and he beat out Spike Jonze for it.
Oh, no kidding. Well,
Yeah.
What did Spike Jonze put out?
I don't know. I think he directed somebody's special or variety special.
Oh, okay.
Because it was just directing in that specific category.
Oh, I see.
But I do remember you and I saying when you reviewed and put me on Bo Burnham Inside, and we gushed about it for 2 podcasts. I was like, man, I hope he doesn't get lumped into the comedy special category. Because this is different, and he got put in a variety special category, I believe, and that's where he won, and he absolutely deserved it.
Absolutely.
So pretty cool to see him walk away with an Emmy or 2.
Yeah.
Okay, hit me up, homie.
Well, just on, I guess, kind of like the news. This morning, you and I were talking. Did you get a chance to see the trailer for this new Bright Samurai anime Netflix is doing?
I didn't. I suck. I'm a bad friend.
I didn't watch it either, but I saw I saw the key art in like like half asleep, like, you know, stumbling with my thumbs trying to send that to you. I was like, oh my god, Dave needs to see this immediately. Like, it's so for those listening, you might recall a few years ago there's a Will Smith project on which was it Netflix. It was Joel Edgerton too. Was he playing the orc? But there's this movie called Bright. I got about 45 minutes into it, and I was like, kudos to Will Smith for trying new things, but like, I'm good. You know, it's
That's hilarious. I got like 30 in.
It's
I remember nothing.
I remember like the idea and the concept was like, you know, I feel like they took a swing, and like I will always give props to someone giving a swing when it comes to like a story like this. I am shocked they are going a prequel anime route. I feel like they should have dedicated their resources to like maybe honing in on a better movie, you know? It's like, or a sequel.
Everybody wants a fucking universe, man.
Yeah. This to me reeks of anime is the hot thing right now.
Yeah, it's weird, eh? Like,
yeah.
You know, I'm down with it because go ahead, right? Mm-hmm. Like, bring more people to the medium. I'm always super down for that. But yeah, it's just weird, right? Of all projects,
yeah.
The movie Bright, like really, like you know, The Witcher put out an anime movie.
Was that out? Did that come out?
Yeah, that's out. I got it like 30 minutes in. I was exhausted and fell asleep, so I'm not knocking the movie. It seemed good, you know. I haven't returned to it yet, but that makes sense though, right? Like they've got books and video games and a limited series. Like all of those things make sense, and then the anime is just like the next way they're gonna explore all that content. But
next logical step, yeah.
But Bright, all right, okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw that. It made me laugh, and I was just like, you know what?
Sorry, I just want to say I'll die if there's all these Bright stands in the comments. Just like, hey, man, actually, the Will Smith movie is a real cult classic.
I remember there's being a scene. It made me laugh. It was actually like a genuinely funny moment. But like Will Smith rolls up, and I think someone has a wand. He's like, "Do you have a license for that?" It's just like, it's so cheesy, but it had its moments. And like, anytime like that, the prosthetics look really cool, and I'm always pro, like building something versus just like doing everything through CG. Sure. But yeah, so Bright Samurai, it has a longer title. But essentially, it's the Bright anime. But I will.
Anybody's clamoring for you to get it right.
I'm curious for sure. I'm definitely going to watch an episode or two just to see.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, take one for the team. Let us know how it goes, and we'll take it from there.
Watch this end up being my number one for 2021.
I'll die.
Can you imagine?
But you never know, right? Like there's
you
weird projects that work.
Yeah.
Like not to go off on like a crazy tangent. But like, there's a great video on YouTube I gotta dig up, but it's this guy who talks just about the current state of animation, and how animators are paid, and we've talked about that on this show before, and
sure.
MAPPA and people being overworked, and MAPPA specifically gets like a pretty significant amount of heat for inconsistent projects at certain times, and one of the hilarious examples is like Jujutsu Kaisen was like applauded for like having some of the best animation of the whole year, and everything about that production apparently was like that thing was lined up to suck. Like it was great, like against literally all odds. They were contracting people from other studios, freelancers. They were pulling in people randomly. Like, people were falling out of that project left and right, but it came out astounding. And, wow. They were overworked. They were, reassigning people to the Attack on Titan production midway through. And, like, against all odds, like, it's amazing.
It's weird how the wires get crossed like that, eh?
Yeah, dude. You should do some reading sometime, or check out some behind the scenes stuff on the Lord of the Rings productions. Like the amount of stuff that went wrong before they even started filming, same deal. And now the Lord of the Rings productions are now like widely considered the best adaptation for like fantasy ever done. Anyway, similar deal. Okay, enough of that. Quit distracting me, Grant. My attention deficit is just getting the better of me. Sonny Boy, episode 9.
Sonny Boy.
Episode 9.
This is a real thinker.
This is a real thinker, and as a result, not my favorite of the season.
Really?
I really liked it.
Yeah.
But one thing I think we talked about when I saw you was like, we need to rewatch this, and I need to rewatch this sooner rather than later. I think I might rewatch this show while it's airing, which is something I don't think I've ever done before. But yeah, definitely thinker, but it also encouraged like all the reasons why I love this show.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
It's definitely the most. If there's one like, I don't even know how to like eloquently put it, but there's moments in this episode where there's clearly very big reveals about the plot and the situation that they're all kind of in.
Yeah, Mizuho and the cats.
Mizuho and the cats, like, or even like,
so cool.
It's so cool. That was like one of the best openings this season. It's just them kind of like kicking in, and like just the jokes they really nailed the rapport between the three cats. Like they're all friends. Like the way they like gripe on each other, and like, I think the one cat, the one with the runny nose, makes a joke about oh, she's 16. If she was a cat, she'd have like a bunch of kittens by now. And then the other one's like, oh, really? How modern of you. You know, he's like, I feel like a couple of animal associations would have a word to say to you. And he's like, whatever. You know what I mean? Like, and just the way they're goofing on each other and kind of just communicating. It just seems like these cats have spent like 100 years together. You know, like just the way they sound like a group of friends. But I thought that was like, they knocked that out of the park. And then also the reveal too. I'm blanking on the dog's name.
Me too, but let's just say dog.
The dog, and so like Sakura, the white cat, you know, like he reveals like, and she's like, "Shut up, dog." He's like, "You know, I can hear you, right?" She's like,
that's so good.
Yeah, and then also the stuff like there's the moments with Raj were really good. The stuff that is very, I honestly I don't understand what Aki's deal is. Like she's clearly the villain of some capacity. Whether that's a red herring still, I can't really guess. I'm not giving too much thought and mental energy to her.
She's been in a bit of the background lately. It looks like she's manipulating Akasaze. I think that's his name. Mm-hmm. That part seems clear because he's clearly had the hots for Nozomi.
Yeah.
I will say there was not to cut you off completely.
No.
There was a really beautiful moment, now that I'm thinking about it, of if you think about the first episode, and I think last week we were talking about our favorite episodes, and I was talking about mine was probably the fifth, and the two things that the first and the fifth have in common is Nagara, the main boy. I think early on you can see his self-doubt and his anxiety and just his lack of self-belief really get to him, and Nozomi really pulls him out of that in both of those episodes. And I think we kind of saw her have some self-doubt for the first time this episode.
Some role reversals.
And he was the one to kind of bring her back, and it just felt like there was a lot of growth there. And I also talked about, I generally speaking, a pretty big disdain for romance in anime because it's handled so poorly most of the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call this a romance arc, but I think these two characters together are pretty cool on screen.
Absolutely.
You can feel the dynamic.
Great on-screen chemistry, which is crazy for like an animation.
Really hard to pull off with voice actors and drawings, man. And they're really doing a really, really good job.
To further your point, one of the best things, like I said, I know you feel a little different, but I really, really like this episode. I think this is probably one of my favorites. So Nagara, the guy who does the voice acting, it's so impressive to hear him. I went back and I watched a couple just like random episodes on Funimation. I was just clicking, on episodes, listening to when Nagara was speaking. And you can see like just the way, like how confident he sounds. Like literally you can hear the confidence in his voice now and the compassion in his voice now versus like earlier in the season.
That's cool. That's something you pick up on a binge. See, that's why I got to rewatch this thing.
It's just like a natural, he kind of like pulls himself, and then you can, in the total opposite of Nozomi. I'm almost wondering if there's more to that. Like if maybe that could be her power or something. Like she's like maybe like an empath, or she's pulling emotion away, and and kind of revert. I don't know. Like I said, it's one of those shows that who knows. Like you can come up with all your own headcanon, and it could be close, it could be off, and whatnot, but. You can hear Nozomi, but then she has these moments of like pure confidence, and then she definitely slides in this episode because they're really hitting home that she doesn't have a power thing, which I think is them signaling to something.
Yeah, I think we'll find out that she does.
But the thing I do have, it's the first time I've had the problem with this episode. I think actually I struggled with it maybe in episode 2. Where we talked about how there's like an undefined amount of time from the last episode to the current one.
Yeah.
They jump into this episode. I was completely like, I have no idea what's going on. Like, they're there as like contractors to like help them with, like troubles within the group. I didn't know who the broken arm girl was. I don't remember there being those twins.
Yeah, me neither.
Earlier, it's like, I don't know if this is like people from other classes because when the underground temple episode or the reverse temple episode where there's all these other people clearly from other senior classes from across time and history, and then like the big the copy thing. I know they said they know for a fact that they're copies. I think I missed that. Well, that might have been a byproduct of me binging it, but
I think that's the reveal of this episode. Like I understood the copying power, and I was starting to get a better, the NY Amazon thing, the Amazon thing. we understood it as a mechanic. I don't think we understood its origin,
Yeah.
and now we do. But I think this also means, based on what we've learned, that they may all be copies. So, like, in fact, if I'm understanding it correctly, I think we're putting, like, the premise in the air, because the premise or the idea was that Nagara was, like, may have been inadvertently responsible for setting them adrift, because he has an ability to create or move this worlds, right? But maybe that's not what happened. Maybe it was Mizuho or the cats or some combination of the two that created copies of all of them, and maybe they're not real. Maybe they're not the originals. Does that make sense?
Well, because Sakura has a line of, we knew we were going to drift. There was not much we can do about that.
Yeah.
But I don't understand, like, did the cat... So that's the thing, like... But there's an earlier episode, I think they realize that they are all copies, but they don't know how they're copies. Okay. Because I think the cats make reference to the fact that they all know, and they even do, like, a quick little flashback to an earlier episode. I think, if I'm remembering correctly, maybe it's because I'm thinking of rewatching. That's the thing.
No,
The show is blending together, but
it's not super linear. It's hard.
So that's the big thing. It's trying to piece everything together. So I'm not sure. If the cats were the ones that did the copying by accident or whatnot, but it seems like everyone is on the page that they're not the real versions themselves.
Scary.
Because Nagara, when he tried to bring them back, they failed, and I think they kind of chalked it up to,
he doesn't have a handle on it.
Well, I think it's because they're already there. Like, they can't go back to something that's already filled.
Right.
I think that's kind of what the big of why it didn't work, why he couldn't take them home.
Yeah.
Like I said. Also, too, I was doing some reading on the show. I totally was misremembering what I had read. It's not the ReZero guy that's involved in the show. It's the One Punch Man guy.
Oh, okay. That's interesting.
And there's a little Easter egg in this episode. You can see Saitama when Nazikaze is reading a manga.
I read, I saw something that, like, they've done a couple times where, like, they're paying tribute to, like, animators on this show. They've left, like, multiple Easter eggs. I don't know what they are. Just about past projects that they've been involved in. So that's kind of neat.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I think we're in a similar spot where we're both happy with how it's going, but we both agree that it's confusing.
Big time.
And there's some things we got to get straightened out, but the main point is that we're having fun.
Big time.
And we're loving the shit out of this. It's still probably my favorite thing currently airing.
Big time.
So I will probably binge it and read up on it. Yeah. We were in that comic book store this weekend, and we came across a bunch of manga, which was really cool. But I did read on Reddit that someone said this is loosely based off of a horror manga called The Drifting Classroom. I'll read up on that too and see if that's, like, 100% true or how loyal it is, if at all. Because if it is loyal, I'll be a little more careful with my Googling.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we both agree that this whole copying thing throws a monkey wrench in quite a few things.
Yep.
But it's also, like we've been talking about, like, all that shit is so celestial and confusing and otherworldly, but a lot of it didn't matter because so much of this show is about character.
Yes. It's all the rest, all the other stuff is just white noise, which I like, in a good way.
Yeah. That was Sonny Boy, episode 9. New episode in a couple days. We'll see. What do you got, homie?
So the fall anime season is
upon us,
barreling down upon us. So it was time for the Demon Slayer rewatch.
Fuck me, really?
Yeah, we're 4 episodes in.
Oh Jesus! Good for you. I appreciate you.
Oh, yeah, I'm out here just working hard. I'm
trying to think here. So, Leanna, the wifess, did she see?
Wifess, she's gonna love that.
That's
actually legitimately she's gonna love that. It's sweet.
That's what I call the missus, and she hates it.
Oh.
I had a slip there. So, has Leanna seen the movie?
Total Attack on Titan syndrome. She's seen the movie.
Okay, so she's going backwards. But has she seen any of the anime at all?
No. Well, this is her first time.
Okay.
And it's one of those ones where I feel like and this is just my take on it. We have talked about this, but like, I think we were so jacked to the nines with Haikyuu, which was so intense. You know, like we were really like, you know, like we're gasping at scenes, and like we're going into Demon Slayer, and it's, you know, it's been a while since I watched it, but it's you know, there's a lot of important stuff going on, but it is actually, from what I remember, it's pretty low stakes in the beginning.
Yep.
So it's those moments of like, oh, that's like an awesome moment. I'm like looking over and I'm like, oh, she was like more jacked up when, like, you know, Kageyama made that like big set in like Haikyuu, and you know, it's like, it's not fair to compare, but like I'm sitting there like vibrating, excited. You know, we're watching Demon Slayer again, you know, getting the rewatch in. So it's one of those things where like I forgot the beginning is very much a slow burn, and you know, but we're gonna get into the goods there soon enough. But like now,
you said episode 4, right?
Yeah, so we just ended. Tanjiro just showed up for the I'm already blanking on the name. The final trial.
Final selection.
Final selection.
Yeah.
They kind of do. You know, you see Zenitsu, and I'm blanking on the butterfly girl's name.
Yeah, yeah.
And the one dude with the scar on his face. I forget his name.
I forget his name too. I don't even know if we learn it, but you know, we see him later.
Yeah.
I won't. I don't know if I should spoil because Leanna's going to listen to this maybe.
For sure. Yeah.
So
count on it.
What I will say is just like so much about the show, not unlike the shows that we love, is about character. But there's also quite a bit of world building they have to establish, right? So the show has to establish the environment, the stakes, who are the people that hold the keys and all that stuff. So you need villains and heroes and all that crap, and you need Tanjiro to become like a viable protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're around that time. Around 4, 5, 6 is when things like kind of kick into gear, and like now you're like on your, you know, Pokemon quest, like shortly after where you're at, and there's some really really fun arcs in season 1. I can't wait for season 2.
I know. So the fun thing, it's interesting watching, because there's a couple different things for me with this time around is I never watched any of this with the exception of the movie on a TV. It was all through my phone. Like just, you know, before work in the morning, eating breakfast. Yeah, it was just one of those things. It was before I had the Crunchyroll. I remember there was one time where I was like, why am I not watching this like on like the PlayStation, on the app or whatever? You
are crazy.
You know,
that's
so
like
it's
the
like
biggest revelation. That's crazy.
So it's just one of those things. I see so much more. It's a bigger picture.
Yeah.
Like literally, you know, the colors.
Literally, yeah.
You know, it's like it was always beautiful, and I was able to like truly enjoy it. You know, watching it on my phone, but now it's like, oh, this is cool.
Yeah.
The other thing is I totally forgot how much comedy they use in this. And then the other thing too is because, you know, Leanna's, you know, she's about to break the precipice. She's about to go into season 5 of Naruto on her own time. That's just her personal project.
Oh Lord, what a trooper.
You know, God bless her. But I've watched a couple episodes with her, you know, here and there. And we started watching the Demon Slayer, and I was like, holy fuck, like this kind of reminds me of Naruto a little bit. Like the way they use the comedy and kind of just the levity of like these young characters, and the way like the way they run around. Also, the thing that really sticks out this time with like the bigger screen is like there's some pretty clunky CGI that I never noticed.
Yeah, like a big part of like a lot of the acclaim that they got was like that they did a lot of really great CGI and a lot of really great 3D.
Yeah.
But you could see it not work at times. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anything away, but like there are obviously some top scenes that are in season 1 that blow my mind that they're in a season and not like a feature film.
Big time. Oh yeah, it's
because try and keep an eye and like for you and like for Leanna, and like you'll notice them if you're looking for them, especially because you guys are watching so much anime. But I remember when I rewatched it with my wifeess, I remember being like, can you tell the difference, like what's CG and what's drawn here? And like it's usually pretty obvious, right? It'll be like environmental things or water or smoke or things like that, but it happens pretty often, especially in still shots.
Yeah.
Where you'll see one thing that's CG'd or 3D'd in, and it usually works like really, really, really well.
Yeah.
That's fuck. I love season 1.
Yeah.
I think season 2 October, or do we know?
October for sure as to when. Because I believe on the 25th of September we're getting a date.
Cool.
Because they're doing a rebroadcast of the movie, and then they're having an event after the broadcast.
Gotta build that hype.
So, but they have said it's going to be Sundays.
Yeah, Sundays at like some weird Japanese time. Like some weird Japanese time. Like they do time differently over there. It's weird. No, but I don't even know what time that will mean for us. So like
it might be a Monday. Like it comes out on a Monday morning.
Yeah, I think like it might be like some ridiculous like 4 a.m. upload.
I don't care. Works to our recording schedules.
Yeah, I'm sure they took that into account when they were getting their time slots ready.
Yeah.
Like, we got to make sure that we make the part-time otaku early upload. So yeah, we'll definitely be covering that in one way or another. But that's fun, man. I'm glad you're rewatching it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's it's crazy. In 4 episodes, not a lot of shows have this much heart.
Yeah,
and it starts like I said, it starts off very bleak and it's a slow burn, but you can slowly like. I completely forgot, because even though we had a lot of Tanjiro in the movie, it was not his show. Like he had his big moments, but I think the focus was I'm blanking on his name. The fire dude, is it Ryusu or Ryu?
You mean in the movie?
In the movie, yeah.
Yeah, the Hashira.
The Flame
Goku,
Hashira.
Super Goku. What the hell's his name? Rengoku.
Rengoku. So he had the real strong moments. So we saw the action of Tanjiro and the gang, obviously, and then we had a couple. But I forgot how empathetic he was.
Yeah, he's very different for a protagonist, and that you're gonna see a lot of that.
Oh yeah. It's good to see it again. This is one of those rewatches. It kind of feels like I'm watching it for the first time again.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean.
Because it's a whole new experience. I got it on the TV, and we can actually kick back and enjoy it, and it's it's just fun. Also too, rewatching shows with Leanna and watching new shows with Leanna, it's just we absorb it together. It's so much fun having a companion with you, beside you, going through this. It's it's very similar to our movie nights or when we'd have Breaking Bad nights or Game of Thrones nights back in the day and all that. Everyone just kind of getting excited in the room, watching what's coming next. And but Demon Slayer is October cannot come quicker for sure.
Very excited for season 2. Fun rewatch. Okay, that was Demon Slayer. I'm going to bounce out of anime momentarily because I'm wondering if you saw the Matrix 4 Matrix Resurrections trailer.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, dude. Okay, so spoilers for the Matrix.
Yeah.
And for the trailer. I mean, there's not a ton to say here because I think it did a relatively decent job at not giving everything away, but they also give probably the first, I'm guessing, act or 20 minutes away. Sure. I guess I don't really have a ton of interest in dissecting the trailer. I just kind of I want to know what your thoughts are on the whole. What do you think about them coming back for a 4th? What do you think about how it looked? What are your thoughts?
So I'm all in for more Matrix. Give us more, it's one of those I had heard something on a podcast this week, and it was something I hadn't really thought of. It was on The Watch. It's one of the Ringer podcast networks. It's Andy Greenwald and Chris Ryan, and I think one of them had made mention that the Matrix is kind of been in a slumber. It has been untouched. It has missed this whole. It was at the very beginning of a few years prior to the superhero wave, where everything became franchised and big and blown out. Even though it was a trilogy, it kind of ended, and then everything else kind of took its thing and moved forward. But it's been in a slumber. It hasn't been overdone, overused. We're not on our 17th version of it, So it's coming back to us a little fresh. It's gonna have this extra sheen to it. Mm-hmm. The trailer looked tremendous. Just visually excellent song choice. The editing was super tight. And as to it coming back, that's the whole thing about the Matrix. There's a line in the original movie, the Oracle says to Neo of this isn't our first time talking. You know, like this is it's a repeated story, right?
Yeah.
And you know, this could be kind of a fun thing. They could redo this movie every 20 years or whatever, and they could find a way, like a new twist, but it continues to repeat and repeat and repeat. So I think if you're trying to justify it coming back, I think they got that in the bag. So, but what about you?
I was pretty stoked. I like the new coat of paint that they put on it. Like,
Yeah.
I think it might have been a mistake if they went for the same like 90s like cyberpunk sort of grungy aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's very bright. It's like kind of almost weird and jarring, but I think it looks really good. It looks like a modern movie, right? And that's clearly what they're going for. I was not among the people, and I know that the cool thing is to say that you hated Matrix 2 and 3. That seems to be like the winning
Sure.
or the main sort of school of thought. I thought they were fine. Like, I was a kid when I watched all three of those. Is a thing with my dad, and we were just excited to be in this whole sci-fi trilogy that like really had swept up the mainstream. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I was satisfied with the ending. And therefore I was like, well, why are we going back, right? Like, if he was dead, why are we going back? So I felt like we needed a good reason. I feel like we're gonna learn what that reason is. It doesn't feel like an insulting money grab, like you were just saying earlier. Like, it did kind of escape that whole like rabbit hole of like, okay, we've done the trilogy, now we need to reboot it and we need to franchise out. It should get a TV series spin-off. It should get this and that. Like, they haven't really done that. So I feel like, there's a reason that they've decided to tell this story, and they got a lot of the same people on board, so that's like a good sign. Yeah. I don't know. I'm excited. You can give me more Keanu and stunt work any day, and I love the Matrix movies, so I'm really, really excited to see where it goes.
And this is gonna be like a hot, maybe a hot take, but like, I'm not into the John Wick movies. Like, they're okay. The first one was good for sure.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get through the second one, and I didn't even bother with the third. But
really?
what I'm going with is, Keanu, like, this is his role. I know everyone said John Wick is his role, but like, Neo is like, this is his like OG franchise. This is a better franchise. I think it's a lot more headier. There's philosophy, and I know it's funny because it kind of goes in line with like us as being like big anime fans and all that, because it's a lot of it's it stems from anime, and all it's inspired by a lot of Ghost in the Shell is like the biggest one, obviously. But it's I don't know. I'm call me a fanboy if you want, but like, same as you, like, this movie holds the original movie, and even the sequels too. I like them. We were kids, Dave. How fucking dope was it? Like, I don't care that they reused scenes from an older Michael Bay movie on like those highways, like like all like the go-to like comments to shoot down the second and third movies. Like, who cares? Like, yeah, like, we were kids. It's like the same argument with the Star Wars prequels. Like, but yeah, like, we were young, so we enjoyed them, and even, we hold a place in our heart. It's, yeah, I don't know. I'm super jazzed, and I am wondering, one thing I am curious about is, where's Larry Fishburne?
Yeah, the rumor is that he wasn't even invited, so I don't know what the hell that's about.
Is that just marketing? Do you think that was like a well-embedded...
So I think, my theory is that obviously he's back in the Matrix, right? And there's something going on to, and who knows why. But my theory, and I don't know who they have playing this black guy that literally looks like Morpheus.
Well, it is Morpheus. It's yeah, I'm gonna butcher his name. It's Yahya Abdul Mateen, or...
Yeah, I think he was in Watchmen, and the HBO Watchmen.
He was in that Trial of Chicago 7. He was great in that.
Oh, yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's great. And yeah, like, he's come out and pretty much been like, yeah, I'm Morpheus. So I don't know if they are simply recasting Morpheus as this guy, or if, like, maybe, in Matrix 1, they have this thing called the digital self-image, where you're, like, recreated in how you would picture yourself in the Matrix. It would not be crazy, considering what this franchise is, for it to be like, oh, like, this is how you remembered him, or how whatever, and then he's actually alive on the outside whenever Neo gets out of the Matrix, or something like that. I don't know. It could be a weird spin. It could be a misdirect. I don't know. Maybe he's actually involved, but I don't know. It's also worth noting the Oracle, the original actress that played her, died between, I believe, 2 and 3. And they also just were like, oh yeah, she's been recreated. And like they had a new lady. And they were just like, oh, like I made a choice and this is how I am. And the implication was that she needed like a new body because like her original one was deleted, probably by the agents. So I don't know. They've done weird stuff in this area before. I can't imagine that Lawrence Fishburne would turn this down, but who knows? Like, I don't know. There's an air of mystery there.
For sure. Yeah.
But like I said, I'm watching that shit.
This is how effective, this trailer was. Is we've had like more than a 5-minute conversation about a movie trailer that we were kind of just going to talk about in passing, and we're still talking about it. Yeah. It's, I don't know, like, you and I were talking in our group chat, and I am officially more excited for this than I am Dune. Like, Dune I want to see and all that, but like this is what I'm really looking forward to now when it comes to big blockbusters, big loud blockbusters.
I'm excited for all of it. I mean, I'm excited the movies are coming back. Okay, one more thing on movies, just because I just said the movies are coming back thing. Weird news today. Christopher Nolan is doing his first film in a decade with Universal instead of Warner Brothers. Did you see this?
I did see that, yeah.
So the obvious thing, like just maybe to catch up the listener for like 10 seconds, is he was pretty upset, vocally upset about how Tenet was handled. Warner Brothers put it on HBO Max instead of giving it like a full theater release, which obviously like kind of hampered its numbers. It did pretty poorly, but spoiler alert, everything did pretty poorly in COVID. And Nolan was like, that's not how you treat directors or stars or so and so. So I always do in another movie. I think it has something to do with the father of the atom bomb. I think it's like about the scientist who's
J. Oppenheimer.
Yeah, Oppenheimer. So my guess is they probably promised him a theatrical only release. Is that fair?
Well, it's funny because they're one of the only major studios who doesn't have a streaming service.
Yep.
he went with the sure thing. He's like, you guys can't make an app in time for me to put this movie.
Tomorrow, press release. Universal announces Universal Streaming Plus.
Sorry, guy. You signed the papers. No, I don't know. This is like the jaded side of Hollywood that I have no interest in reading about.
Yeah.
It's like, it's all backdoor business stuff. It's like, go make your movie with whoever you want, with whatever money, just, put your effort into making a good movie. And like, I find to Christopher Nolan's credit, there's a lot of directors who just are too focused with like the Hollywood side of things. They're not like as communicable with the audience. I find, like there's, directors like Edgar Wright, and you even say what you want about Kevin Smith, but and I'm sure there's a lot more that I can think of, but like they have like a closer connection to their fan base and they can communicate a little bit better. I think Nolan just needs to shut up. He's kind of like we talked about Martin Scorsese like way back in the post show
when he was attacking superhero movies.
Yeah, but he's attacking everything. It's like it just kind of comes off as old mandy, and it's totally. I know this is your art and this is your life, and like 100%, I would never take that out. I would never say ill against anyone like that has that much passion for what they do, but it's like maybe if it wasn't so obviously about money too, I would maybe care a little more. But it's like just. Why does this have to be in the media? Like, obviously you could just not read it. I don't know. It's hard to like not be jaded and cynical.
I was
gonna
say you get crotchety about this.
It's hard to like read about this and be like, this is just rich people arguing with other rich people. It's like, why does this affect me? When the movie's out, the movie's out.
I think the big question is, there's one way it could affect us, Grant. Will this change be enough to make Christopher Nolan fix his sound design in all of his movies?
Oh, good God. I'm terrified.
That, Nolan? You fuck.
I'm terrified. So, I'll never forget Dunkirk. That was a borderline traumatic experience for my ears.
You can hear us more clearly than we've ever heard dialogue in your fucking movies. Figure it out. Okay, sorry.
Yeah. All right. I can't talk. I did a poor job editing last week too, so I think me and Nolan would get along pretty well.
Whatever, man.
Sorry for yelling in your ears, everyone.
Whatever, man. Trying to understand a single thing Robert Pattinson says in Tenet. Are you confused yet? It's like, yeah. Fuck, man.
I enjoyed it. It's a good movie.
Okay. What you got next? We should probably end on something cool, something anime related.
Well, it's not anime related, but like I said, it is anime adjacent.
Typical.
So on Amazon Prime, there's this show called James May, Our Man in Japan.
James May, Our Man in Japan.
So
okay.
James May is one of the trio from Top Gear, the original Top Gear.
Okay.
And it's like a docu-travel series. He kind of just gets into his fascination he's had from Japan and, you know, from all his years visiting and all that. And I think the whole goal of it is he goes from like northern Japan and he works his way south. Like the last episode we just watched, it was like the Tokyo episode. Anyway, so it's, you know, it's like very like Anthony Bourdain-esque, but it's just
gonna say kind of parts unknown type thing.
Parts unknown, but it's like a series. I'm not sure how many episodes it is. I think we've watched 3 so far. I think there's definitely, I would say maybe 6 or 8, but you know, it's interesting because it's so funny. I'm watching this. It's like, of course, we're watching a travel documentary about Japan. You know, like but it's because
if you're not watching anime, you have to go to where they make it.
Exactly. It's so funny, but it's really interesting because, you know, it's not like there hasn't been travel documentaries about like other like. Japan as a whole is a very well known and sought after place, like, you know, for travel and whatnot. So like, it's not like there's like hidden things that like, it's not like he's showing us things that no one has ever seen before, but it's kind of just taking like a more like a down to earth kind of take on it. You know, he's just they're very British, very cynical. And just like the characters he meets, and it's nothing super new and original, but it's kind of fresh to see someone with his kind of character traveling around. And I've watched, you know, a handful of Top Gear episodes over the years, and I've always liked them. I'm not a supercar guy, but I can appreciate the passion these guys have.
Sure.
For all that. And he kind of takes a lot of that passion from Top Gear into this. And, you know, like just the translators he brings along with him, the people he meets. And like he's just kind of like weirdly crotchety, you know, and it just kind of fit.
We've begun to identify with that quality much more lately.
Yeah, well, for sure. So it's I don't know. It's really good. It's fun. It's, you know, it's you know, and you know, like there has been moments where like there's I think the prefecture is Hokkaido, and it's kind of like it weirdly reminded us of like Canada. Like it's northern. There's a lot more snow, or thicker or larger amounts of snow throughout the year and whatnot. And it's just kind of like cool. Like there's like dog sledding. It's like, oh, that's like kind of like what we can do here, you know, like for extracurriculars and all that. And it was, I don't know, it was just fun. It's just a fun little romp. It's a good way to kind of like wind down at the end of the day.
Yeah, that sounds just fun.
Yeah.
You said it's on Prime?
Yeah, it's on Prime.
That's pretty awesome.
Well, so Joey recommended it to us, and he's super big into the Top Gear stuff and all that. He's like, you got to check out Our Man in Japan. Our Man in Japan, you got to check it out.
Our Man in Japan on Prime.
Yeah, it's really, like I said, it's super lighthearted. It's funny. Like there's literally a festival that they go to. It's like a penis festival, and you know, it's just all about like they were, you know, there's this like a lot of bigger like ideas to it where it's about, you know, it's people are there to pray for, you know, to have healthy larger families and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it even gets to like, you know, sexual positivity and LGBTQ and whatnot. And it's just so well done. You know, it's just like they don't shy away from it, and just shows how like the kind of the like the double-sided coin like of the culture, where they are very, you know, sexually liberal, but also like they're a super repressed society, and they have no shame at this festival, but then they have all this other repression stuff. I don't know, it's just super interesting, and like it's stuff you don't always see in like the mainstream travel stuff. And you know, like he goes and he meets like one of the last, or not, maybe not one of the last known, but he's like a known descendant from like a samurai tribe. And, you know, does the whole like getting up in the armor thing, but like they take the time with it, and, you know, and whatnot. It's really fun. I don't know. Like I said, it's a great way to wind down at the end of the night with a little bit of travel documentaries, because that's what we like to do. We'll throw on Anthony Bourdain. It's a little bit harder lately, just with his death and all that, and it's hard not to hear all the sadness in his voice when in those shows.
It's a little dark on the rewatch.
It's a little dark, but it's, this James May show. I hope he does more. I hope he goes to other places. Maybe this is just a one-off, but check it out.
Not very familiar with Top Gear or with him, but that sounds like something that is right up my alley. And
Big time.
It's very accessible since it's on Prime, so...
Yes, sir.
I think I'll have to take a look. What is happening? It's my smart devices. I don't want to name them because then they're gonna.
She knows you're talking about Prime. That's what she's doing. She knows you're talking about Prime. Oh, you want to watch James May?
Man, that's probably what. I wonder if they listen for. I'm not gonna say it now. You see what you've done? I'm in a house where I can't speak freely. Okay, I think that about wraps it up for this week. Solid recommendation. James May in Japan. Our Man in Japan. On the streaming service by Amazon. Check that shit out. Thank you guys so much for listening. This has been a really fun episode. Check out My Hero Academia Season 5. We're covering that right now also on the podcast. Those drop a couple days earlier than these. And if not, we're back every Friday with an episode of the post show. So thank you guys so much for listening. Don't hesitate to check out all of our social media platforms. Like, comment, subscribe. Take the appropriate social media action on the appropriate social media platform. I think that about covers it, Grant.
I think so.
Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.